Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Chris back here again with another fall camp preview video. It's a double upload video today because you guys crushed it on the first one with 100 likes. So we're bringing this one double upload on the defensive line because I read your comments and I know you guys are excited about this defensive line group. I'm excited to talk about this group because I think there's a lot of interesting things to discuss in terms of as a whole and individually. So I will get into that. But first off, I want to shout out a couple people who supported the channel. The last one being the Bullyville with the super thanks donation. So shout out to you. Appreciate you. And also a while back, I didn't get a chance to publicly talk about it, but J. William Grimes did the super thanks feature as well, was the first person to do that. So shout out to both of you. Your support is really appreciated. So let's get right into this video. The defensive line. There's plenty to discuss because there are a lot of guys with interesting stories. 17 players going into fall camp on the defensive line. And the reason why I'm doing it, instead of breaking it down into defensive end and defensive tackle, I just put them all together. There are certain guys they have slotted at different spots, but there are many guys, and even guys I've talked to on the roster, that they think they're going to play both. They're going to play some inside and some outside. And because it's a new coaching staff, we're really still learning exactly what they want to do with their defensive line. Also, the sizes of these guys could change in the offseason. That'll be something to watch for in terms of where they're going to play more. Also, some of these guys are coming from different schools where they played multiple spots and they prefer one or the other. So maybe they're just going to stick to one. So 17 defensive linemen. And with that group, there's a lot of experience. And I know I mentioned earlier that the cornerbacks to me are the biggest battle to watch for in fall camp. The defensive line is certainly a big battle as well because there's a lot of guys with experience coming into the program as well as guys that are returning. So there are 6 guys on this roster of the 17 that have played at least 20 games in their careers, regardless of where they've been. And 8 different guys have started at least one game. So you know that there's going to be plenty of competition. And what I find very interesting with this group is we didn't get a chance to see a lot of these guys in the spring, the transfers, or some of the new players that could make an impact. So what we saw in the spring, we can't really judge that on what Miami's going to look like on the defensive line throughout the season. However, you know, one of the things I did in the offseason for myself is I spent a lot of time either talking to people or just going out or gathering film on the new guys. So what to expect from them, you know, what kind of players they are. And there's 3 guys that stand out to me because Miami brought in 5 transfers. And I think they're all going to play a factor. We saw Jake Lichtenstein really make an impact on the first unit throughout the spring, a transfer from USC, and he's getting ready for his 6th season. So there's another 6th-year guy that was here in the spring but didn't participate because he was dealing with an injury, and that's Antonio Moultrie, a transfer from UAB. So with Moultrie, and then the 2 other guys who I really think are going to be huge factors for Miami this year. And it's not to say Lichtenstein and Moultrie won't be, because I do think Miami's going to roll a lot of people out there with I think they're going to have a strong 2-deep rotation, and that's how they're going to really impose their will on offensive lines and offenses, because I think they're going to have a lot of depth. Although I do have a couple question marks that I want to address in a little bit. But the new guys with Moultrie, and then the 2 guys I'm talking about are Mitchell Agude from UCLA, defensive end, and then Akeem Mesidor. Those are the 2 guys I think are going to have big impacts this year. I think they could have really good seasons based on some things that I've seen already with their careers. And Mesidor's coming over from West Virginia. So what's interesting with Mesidor, Agude, and Moultrie, in the last 2 years, all 3 of them have earned all conference honors on the second team. Agude did it this past year at UCLA on the all Pac-12 teams, whereas Mesidor was the year before in 2020 a second team guy in the Big 12, and then Moultrie in Conference USA was a second team guy in 2020 as well. So you're bringing in 3 different guys that have all conference accolades, and Miami, among the returners, does not have a single player that has earned any sort of accolades, whether it's an all-conference honor or honorable mention. So that's what's interesting with this new group coming in. There's a lot of good players, and they're coming from out of state. You're going to see a quick look there in Mesidor. Some guys just out of camp, and you see him right here. Just a big guy and someone I think that's going to play well in Miami's system. Mesidor is a guy that leads the team in sacks for his career. He has 9.5, and he's the only player that's on the program that has had more than 5 sacks in his career. So those are the 3 guys that stand out to me, in addition to what Jake Lichtenstein's bringing to the table as a transfer. But also keep your eye on Darrell Jackson, a big guy. He might be the biggest. I think he's the biggest of the defensive linemen that they have out of Maryland. Only played 1 year there, but I thought he played very well. He got his only start in the bowl game for Maryland right at the end of the year. I thought he played well in that game. If you want to hear more about that, definitely check the channel, because I interviewed a reporter who talked about Darrell Jackson, what he's bringing to the table. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet, but he's definitely going to be in the mix as well. So let's talk about Miami's returners. There's a few guys that stand out to me. We've been talking about these guys quite a bit over the last few years. There's some guys that are in practice that you're watching right now, but it starts to me with Jafari Harvey. He's a guy going into his 4th year. He's played 26 games in his career with 6 starts. He didn't have the breakout year that he was hoping for last year, and it's just been a slow start. That's basically the way you say the first 3 years for him. It just hasn't gotten off the ground like he would like. However, he represented Miami at the ACC kickoff days. Also, he's a guy that feels like he's really going to turn the corner. 4 sacks in his career, and that's where I think Miami's got to be better at in terms of this group. They don't have a lot of guys that are proven pass rushers. I touched on Messidor, but they're between their defensive ends, the guys that you'll see really out there. You don't see a guy that has a bunch of sacks in his career. 4 for Harvey, 4.5 for Agude. Chance Williams got 2.5. So it's not a big number from this defensive end to watch for, and I think that's where they've got to be better. However, I think if the defensive tackles can really put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, maybe it can free up some stuff with the defensive ends, that they can get a little bit better pass rush, or it just might be something that we watch for all season long just to see if they really take that next step in their development. But that's the area that I think maybe that they can definitely be better at. However, I think that they're going to be very strong against the run. And I'm saying that because not only are you going to be able to rotate a bunch of guys in, but I really like the size of these guys as well. I think they've got good size and athleticism. There's a guy in particular, when I talk about athleticism, it's Leonard Taylor. He played his first year last year, played in 9 games, had 2 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss, didn't play, probably averaged right around, playing in about half the snaps in the games that he participated in, but he tied for the team lead in tackles for loss. So he's a very productive guy. His athleticism has always stood out when I've watched him in high school when he was an early player at the high school level, and certainly we saw it last year. He just has to take this jump. He's going into his 2nd year, and I think he learned a lot last year, but Leonard Taylor needs to really emerge as a really bona fide, all conference caliber type of defensive tackle, be very productive game in and game out, and provide a lot there. And I do think Miami will be able to get a pretty good pass rush with their defensive tackles, but it's not going to be one of those big years, I don't think, that we've seen in years past recently with the defensive ends racking up a lot of sacks. So watch for the defensive line to get tackles for loss, in particular, make it really tough in the run game. Leonard Taylor, looking for him to step up, really take his game to a next level, because a guy like him can really emerge from year 1 to year 2, and we'll see how he does. Jared Harrison-Hunte is a guy that's been around. He's going into year 4 already. It's a little bit of a surprise how quickly it's gone for him. 20 games in his career, 9 starts and the 5 sacks, playing there on the inside. You talk about turning a corner. Jared definitely needs to do that this year, and it will be interesting with all these new guys coming in. How will Leonard's playing time work? How will Jared Harrison-Hunte, his playing time, how will that mesh together with all the newcomers coming in? They definitely have to raise their game. Another guy at Miami that's very intriguing in terms of being a guy that's been around a long time, and that's Jordan Miller. He has the most experience among the Miami returners, 36 games played, ranks only 2nd on the roster to Moltry's 39. Moultrie got his, obviously, at UAB. And Jordan Miller, I thought he had a good spring. That's one of my main takeaways from the spring. I thought he did a good job in the spring, and we'll see if it translates where he could be one of those reliable, productive players where he might not play a bunch of snaps, but will he be able to impact the snaps that he's in there? And I don't think you can ever have enough guys at defensive tackle, guys with size, and I know that's a big priority with Coach Cristobal and Coach Joe Salavea, what they want from the defensive line. Certainly you like those playmakers on the edge, guys that make a lot of big plays, but certainly up front. They know they got to be tougher up front, and we'll see how everything translates. But Jordan Miller is a guy that's been around quite a bit as well. There's some other younger guys, and definitely drop in the comments below. Who are you most excited about? How do you see this thing shaping out? I do think Messidor, Leonard Taylor, Agude, and Harvey, those are the kind of the main four to me to kind of watch for during fall camp. I think if any of those four are going to be unseated in terms of their playing time, I think it's going to be impressive from the other guys. The other guys are going to have to step up and really take those jobs, and they'll have opportunities to do so. But I think those are your main four that you're looking at to be the main guys, and we'll see how it translates in fall camp. But definitely, like I said, drop in the comments. Let me know who you're thinking of. There's a couple young guys that were highly regarded in this recruiting class. We got a chance to see Cyrus Moss in the spring, a little up and down throughout the spring. However, he finished that spring game with 3 sacks, really impressed in a game situation, and that was a good sign from him. You know, I'm very curious to see how he translates, because I hadn't had a chance to see him over the summer, how he'll do in fall camp now that he has the spring behind him. It would be great if a guy like him, even on a smaller role, even if he's just a third down type guy, but somebody that can get to the quarterback. We'll see if Cyrus can really be like, you know, have a specialist type role, kind of start with that, and we'll see how it grows from there in this fall to see his improvements. And then the other guy, Nigel E. Kelly, another freshman, a guy that was here in the spring, but because he was hurt, we didn't get a chance to see him, highly regarded. We'll see how he gets implemented as well in fall camp. So there's a lot of names I dropped in here, 17 guys. I didn't mention everybody, but I'm sure you guys will want to drop in on your thoughts. I do think the defensive line is going to be a strength for Miami, even if they don't have the guys that are true pass rushers. I think this is going to be a very strong unit. I'm very excited to see how these guys do. I think fans are going to be very excited with Agude and Messidor and how they perform this year based on things that I've seen at their previous stops. So I want to thank everybody again for watching. Shout out to everybody once again so we could get that double upload. Fall practices are officially right around the corner. There's going to be plenty more coverage. I definitely want to keep these things going. So definitely drop in the comments below. What position group should I do next? Thank you again for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day, and take care.